Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is John Bunn and I am flying solo this week. Nick has the week off and I'm doing an interview with Jared Sullivan of Wayward North Films and the podcast, The Films We Make. We talk today a lot about mindset, but we talk about 4 ways to become a better wedding filmmaker. He's based in North Carolina. His YouTube channel is just growing like crazy. He's putting out some incredible content and an up-and-coming educator that we wanted to introduce you to. But before we get into this week's episode, I wanted to tell you about my friends over at howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing. If you didn't know, we have a link on our website with multiple outsourcing companies that you can check out and learn about them. They're vetted, they're approved by us, and it's just a great way, an easy way to find an outsourcing company that can work for you. So head over to howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing today to check out our outsourcing partners. Now, without further ado, let's hop into this week's episode with Jared Sullivan of Wayward North Films. All right, well, welcome Jared Sullivan from Wayward North Films to the How to Film Weddings podcast. Say hello, introduce yourself. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, it feels absolutely surreal being here. I feel like this was a dream of mine since this podcast even launched. Just looking at 5 years in the past and we're coming to fruition. Dreams are coming true and we're doing the thing. This is amazing.
I thought you were going to say this has been a dream of yours since like breakfast time or something like Michael Scott would have said. No, seriously, pumped to have you on our show. You've been doing lots of great things. We're going to talk all about them. You were in our mastermind group in 2023. We got to connect. We did some mentor sessions with each other. We just started chatting. You've started building your own educational stuff. It's awesome. It's very refreshing. It's not in your face. It's a very relaxed and refreshed. I enjoy the content a ton. Your YouTube channel's blowing up. It's just all good. You're making really good content and we're going to talk all about it. So, before we get into that though, let the audience in, just paint a picture of what your life looks like today. Who are you? Where are you based? All that kind of stuff. Just tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, like you mentioned, my name's Jared Sullivan. Jared spelled with an I. For those curious, my mom had to throw that I in there to confuse people, and it's been great.
Yeah, Jaired. Yeah,
Jaired. That's right.
Yeah, it's easy that way.
So I am based in North Carolina. I have been here my entire life. And yeah, I guess starting from the beginning, I feel like I started the path of wedding filmmaking very traditional, like very cliche, like most people. You know, I don't think anyone ever wakes up one day or is in elementary school dreaming about being a wedding filmmaker when the teacher asks you that question. It just sort of fell into my lap. I always had a passion for storytelling and filmmaking, and backtracking before that, music was my first passion. I wanted to be a rock star, the male version of T Swifty. Let's just go ahead and say that.
Oh, jeez.
That was kind of my initial dream. Didn't pan out the way I wanted it to, but that's okay. And so going into high school, I was 16 years old. I was a busboy at Outback Steakhouse, and
yes.
It was at this place is where I really discovered that passion for filmmaking and storytelling. From music to YouTube being a huge thing. Me and my friends, we just got together. We made all these stupid videos. It was really fun. And I thought, okay, I'll ditch the rock star dream. We'll become YouTube sensations instead. That seems like a pretty lucrative field. So we'll do that. And I really just kind of stumbled into something else entirely, because after the skits, a friend that I was working with at the restaurant, he reached out. He knew that I did video. I was, just learning and growing that. And so he asked if I wanted to film his wedding. And then, as you can imagine, the rest is history, where it just kind of evolved into what it is today. And yeah, I guess life now, I am a new father, which is awesome. I have a
Congratulations.
10-month-old baby boy who is just absolutely crazy in the best way. He's just the spitting image of myself, which is scary for everyone involved. But it's been such a great journey experiencing dad life and navigating the balance between what that looks like with running a wedding business, also dabbling in content creation and education and podcast and doing way too many things. I need to calm down, but that's pretty much the gist of my life right now.
Yeah, I love hearing it. I need some photos of you as a busboy at Outback. If you have any, or the link to some of your old skits, that would be delightful. So I want to hit two on this before we get going into the topic I really want to talk about. Tell us a little bit about your actual wedding film business today. Like, are you mainly in North Carolina? Do you travel? What does that look like? What do you focus on? What's important to you when it comes to your filming, filming the weddings?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a metamorphosis over the last few years. I went through 2 brands at this point. I started off, my first brand was my name, Jared Lee, but then I added videography to the end of that. And I didn't like that I didn't like the rhyming. So I went to something more related to my roots with being in North Carolina. And then I was Carolina Story. And then after a few years, there was another Carolina film company that popped up, and we were all filming weddings in North Carolina. So things just got confusing real fast. So then I rebranded to Wayward North. And this is where I really discovered who I wanted to serve, the identity within the films that really spoke to me and that really inspired me as an artist. And that really did involve more travel-based weddings, more adventure-based weddings, elopements. So right now I am based in North Carolina, but most of my weddings I'm traveling to either Asheville, which is in the mountains in North Carolina, or the Tennessee mountains, or Georgia. I have a few California weddings this year, which is going to be cool. Going to be first time on an airplane, so we'll see how that goes.
It still blows my mind.
32-year-old man, never been on an airplane, never touched foot on an airplane.
How do you feel about that? This is a nice aside I think the listeners need to know, like honest to goodness truth. Anxiety around it, or what do you not know? What are you worried about? What do you think? I need to know this. I need a minute at least of this.
Well, I feel like it's just over time, it's gotten worse and worse because I am a classic overthinker. I am trapped inside my head all the time. So I'm just building it up at this point. But I remember very distinctively in college, I was in film class, and we were watching a documentary on just plane crashes, of the history of plane crashes. And I'm sitting here thinking, this is terrifying. This is absolutely horrific. I'm never going to get on an airplane. And so, yeah, it's a lot of anxiety about it.
Okay.
I would rather just spend 3 days in a car traveling than just stepping foot, and being 30,000 feet in the air. I need to get over it. It's one of those things where it's going to be a great YouTube video. Let's just say that.
Yeah, that's hilarious and awesome. I'm so excited for you to get on an airplane. I wish you the best of luck. I hope it's a successful flight.
I hope it goes well.
It's just a tube floating in the air with a couple wings on it. It's fine.
That's it.
It's all a simulation. It doesn't make sense anyway. But so I'm excited for you to head to California. I love the name Wayward North. I love the whole vibe. When I came across you maybe 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, found your YouTube channel, saw your stuff. Like, it just had, I don't know another way to put it besides it was just refreshing and calm and relatable and not so YouTube-y and not so YouTuber dude. I don't know. It just was oh, this guy is relatable. And I know you talk a lot about in your education, educating the next generation of wedding filmmakers. And it's just fun for me as the How to Film Weddings podcast guy that's seeing all these other people come up and do education and do it in a way that is enjoyable. And I don't know, there's all kinds of courses coming out and all kinds of different things. And so whenever you applied for a mastermind group, it was like, oh, this is so great. We're going to get to know each other, and then got to spend time with each other and learn with each other. And anyway, it's been fun to watch and see your YouTube channel over the last little bit start to really pick up, really start to grow. Every time I go over there, there's another 1,000 or so subscribers. That's got to feel good. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about like why you decided that you wanted to do education? And just, I mean, I know you wanted to be famous rock star, famous YouTuber. Is this the third place, like final swing? No, but like what really made you, why in a world where there's a lot of education, like what made you want to head down that road?
Yeah, it's a great question. I feel like it really just goes back to growing up. My mom, she was a teacher, still is a teacher. I mean, she's in the educational space, and we'd always go to school with her, and I'd always just kind of be watching her. And I feel like I've always had that kind of educational teacher spirit of wanting to just be in front of people and share my perspective, share my experience in a way that wasn't condescending or in a way that just didn't truly connect with people. I just wanted to be that, like you said, that relatable guy that had that calm but also very transparent way about talking to people and just talking through my own experience. And so, it was 2019. I just felt compelled for whatever reason, just woke up one day and thought, I've been doing weddings for a little bit now. I feel like I have a unique perspective. I feel like my perspective in of itself is unique. And, I've experienced some things. I've made a lot of mistakes. I think mistakes are just the ultimate way of learning and growing and just being transparent and honest and just genuine about those mistakes and not trying to hide that from people. And so that's kind of really the tone that I felt I wanted to put out there into the world. And so, I started with just a couple camera reviews because, again, like when you do dabble into the YouTube world, you're like, how do I do this? Like, what is the voice? Like, I don't want to accidentally like replicate someone, but then you inadvertently do that. And I felt like I was like Peter McKinnon. I was Casey Neistat, or I was all these people that are just, these YouTube giants and people that I look up to. And, but then down the line, I found my lane, I found my voice, and it was really just about just taking a beat, just realizing that what I wanted to achieve with YouTube was very simple. And that is just, if I can help one person build confidence, find that confidence in their business, and feel a lot better going into that first wedding day or even that fifth wedding day, that's okay with me. It's not about the accolades. It's not about the subscriber counts, although yes, that is awesome to see. And, you do get that excitement when you see those numbers climbing. But for me, it was always more so about helping people rather than just looking at them like they're just numbers on a spreadsheet, like the analytics, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that comes across a lot in your content for sure. And I like hearing a little bit of that origin story of just how you got going and kind of your purpose. Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, this is going to be like an easy road to fame, fortune, the wealth, all the, stuff where it's like, oh yeah, I've already got camera gear, so I might as well just be a YouTuber or whatever. But you said something in there, you found yourself along the path, you found your lane. And I think it's important for people, not trying to get people to start a YouTube channel, but part of the journey of our businesses is taking steps, making mistakes, getting up, taking more steps, skinning our knee, asking someone for help, asking for directions, taking more steps. And sooner or later, you kind of look back and you're like, whoa, I've come a long way, and I now know a little bit more of where I'm going. A lot of people say, whenever I know the entire destination, I'll take my first step. And that's just not how the universe is set up. And it's fun for me watching you, because we've had conversations about like your angle, how you want to, represent yourself in front of people. And I just see you keep putting new videos out and new thoughts and new ways of doing it. Your Instagram over the last week, it's like, that's a cool video idea. You put some time into that. That was creative. That was, some of the recent ones for sure in the last couple of days. And it's just like, okay, this guy's finding his lane. It's fun for me to watch that. And you would never have found that lane if after 1 or 2 or 3 or 20 videos, you would have just been like, well, I suck. I'm not 5 million subscribers like Peter McKinnon, so nobody cares what I have to say. And so I think that that's just really important for people in their wedding video business, in life in general. Maybe you're watching and you're like, man, I'm not charging that for my wedding films, or man, I'm not making films that look like that quite yet. Just keep taking steps. We were all, we're all on a journey, and we were all, at that step at one point in time.
Yeah, I think we all desperately want that instant gratification. At least we're being more conditioned in today's world, it feels like, just having that instant gratification. And I mean, looking back on it, I mean, there was no reason, if you look at it from a numbers perspective, like an analytical perspective, there was no reason for me to keep making these videos. The numbers weren't there. I mean, I wasn't racking in money, wasn't making any money. Like, I wasn't doing this for, like you said, fame and fortune. It was just because, I had a mission, I had a goal, and I had a passion to see it through, and just the drive. And I mean, I'll be honest, I mean, even in today, I still wake up some days where I don't want to show up. I don't have that feeling of like, oh, I gotta, like, is this even worth it? Or I have that feeling of, is it even worth it? Or, the imposter syndrome's real. And I mean, I still feel that in like every other day, and there's constant ebbs and flows in that. But yeah, I feel like what's attributed to me just growing and evolving as an artist and, as a business owner is just by remaining consistent and showing up even when I didn't want to, asking for help and not being afraid to put it all on the table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like that idea. And I think that a lot of people, that instant gratification, that I want it now, it gets in the way of what you're being fine-tuned in the process. The journey, is part of the process of getting to where you want to be. And watching, you, and knowing that you do live inside your head and you are an overthinker in a way, or you might like overanalyze things. How does somebody that, to unpack it a little further, not even just your YouTube channel, but like in general here, when you're waking up and you're feeling the imposter syndrome, you're waking up and you're feeling like, well, I'm not as far along as those people, being somebody that would analyze a lot, like what goes on in your head? How do you fight that? How do you find the ability, like, what does that process in your mind look like whenever you are just kind of like, hey, I don't know why I'm doing this. I feel like I should quit. How do you live inside your head and also keep taking steps?
Oh man. I mean, I'll be honest, it's pure chaos, but there's also beauty in the chaos. And usually what I have to just constantly remind myself is that, everyone has a timeline, and where someone else is now, like, they had their own journey. And so you're just still on the road to your final destination. And I don't think anyone really has like a final destination when it comes to being an artist, being a filmmaker. I feel like so many of us are oftentimes scared of being a beginner again, or feeling like, well, like, I've put in the time, I've done all this, like, why isn't things happening now? And it's just that defeating mindset that can be very debilitating. And you just have to constantly remind yourself that no, you just have to keep showing up. And that's kind of like I feel like the way for me just kind of out of that funk is, even though I'm just feeling that imposter syndrome, or, seeing all these incredible filmmakers, or feeling like that my work's not good enough, I just have to kind of like push through it. And I mean, it's hard to really, I guess, put it on paper, like the proper methodology of how to really get out of that funk, because I mean, I feel like I still find myself in it, like in and out constantly. It's just like a wave that comes in and out. And but I would say also too, just being around positive influences and surrounding yourself with like-minded creators that want to see you succeed, that are really just always in your corner, and that accountability factor, that's always huge for me, and just kind of lifting my spirits. You really just need that creative friend, or those people that can just really help you out of that cloud. And for me, that has been a huge help. And then just lifestyle choices, sometimes not being so deep into the hustle culture and grinding and 8, 9, 10 hours in front of a computer, and just being very intentional with my work hours and my focus time, and all of those things are very important to just experiencing, I guess, the imposter syndrome and that feeling of self-doubt less and less, all of those things.
Hey guys, Austin here from the Creative Cabana, and I get it. You want your dream clients. We all do. As a wedding videographer myself, I know the power that a cohesive brand plays in your business growth. Here at the Creative Cabana, we are a full-service creative team specializing in websites and brands for wedding videographers just like you. From our full custom all-in-one packages to our do-it-yourself templates, we've got options that fit every business at any stage. Now, I know you've poured your heart and soul into your business. It's time to have a brand that causes couples to fall in love with you before they even reach out. Head over to our website, creativecabana.co, and we will show you how to turn price shoppers into your dream clients.
The thing that stands out to me, and it's just so massive, is community, or creators, or people around you that are in your corner, and having people to cheer you on, and to know that the value you bring to the table that can remind you of that when you do get inside of your head. And so if you're out there like filming weddings and you're all alone and you're all trying to figure it out on your own, you're not asking anybody for help because you have pride, you're not okay with just saying, I am a beginner, or I do have things to learn, you're not willing to get out there, you're isolating yourself. And when you get isolated, that's whenever you start really, recycling all those thoughts in your head. The self-talk starts happening. You start speaking things about yourself. And then sooner or later, you're off here in the ditch, And so that one by one, day by day, you can get off in that ditch. And so, I'm a huge fan of like what you're doing. I'm constantly trying to like send you a text, like keep going. You're doing great things. Keep it up. And I'm naturally just insert myself into situations. It's who I am. I can't help myself when someone's doing good stuff. And it's like, I don't know your lane officially, but just keep going, because you're heading in, like, if you're watching on YouTube, it's like you're heading this direction. And then now it's like we're fine tuning it in till we're just like laser focused. And I think you're somewhere in here with your education. You're like, okay, this is starting to get easier to create this content. People are starting to notice, people are starting to giving me attaboys or whatever. And that feels good. And then another layer of like, oh my goodness, am I ready for this? That is probably sneaking in. And it's very the same when it comes to our wedding film business. I remember when, my company was pushing past like the $5,000 mark, and that's more than I would have paid for a wedding film, and just feeling like an imposter, like I was ripping people off. And then I reminded myself, no, I've been to 200 weddings at this point. I've, edited all these weddings. I've learned my gear. I've all these things. And then having people in my corner being like, dude, you're worth way more than that, like giving me that confidence. And so finding those people, community, whether in Facebook group, a mastermind group, a course, a mentorship, whatever it is, your friends, having those people in your corner is really important. I wanted to shift a tiny bit. So before we hit record, we were talking about some stuff you have coming up about how to become a better filmmaker. We've hit a little bit on, we have like these 4 ways to become a better wedding filmmaker. We started talking about it, but mindset was the first one on the list, and we've kind of talked about it a little bit. But as a wedding filmmaker, what do you mean whenever you say, I can become a better wedding filmmaker with my mindset?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like mindset is the number one thing that either leads you down the path of longevity or leads you to that exit, because it's that constant, if you are in that cloud of that constant self-doubt, or you feel like you're not growing, or it's just something that's just keeping you from progressing. I feel like it always kind of starts with mindset and maybe a little bit of passion and that regard too. And so, yeah, I mean, when it comes to being a better wedding filmmaker, in my opinion, there's 2 things you really have to ask yourself. Where is your mindset centered currently? Like, why are you filming weddings? Who are you serving? Like, be specific, go deep, because I've experienced both, like, the passion first mindset, but then also kind of thinking, oh, well, I also want to make money first mindset. And so I feel like it's kind of like a juggling act at first. You want to make money, but you also want to like have these beautiful wedding films. And so like, where do you start? And there's that constant ebb and flow. And so for me, like in 2016 to 2018, these were like my formative years, like my first taste of like true entrepreneurial lifestyle. I guess I hit puberty as an artist. Went full speed, like into wedding filmmaking, like thought I had it all figured out. And, like suddenly out of nowhere, I started feeling so disconnected from like the brand I was building. I was losing passion. Like I didn't have the fire that once drove me. And I really didn't know why. I don't know like what was really going on until like I discovered the reason that I felt that way. It was because my mindset was warped. It was, I was filming weddings basically to serve myself versus to serve myself like financially, professionally. I wanted to impress other people with my work. I was mostly after just trying to impress other filmmakers and be that guy that people looked up to in the industry, and wanted my work to be noticed, and instead of making my couples happy. And so I didn't realize that at the time that this mindset was actually making me miserable, because I was just going about wedding filmmaking all wrong. Like that's when I sought guidance from my first teacher, my mom, and she told me that, well, no wonder you're unhappy. I mean, you're trying to serve yourself and you're missing the whole point of what you're doing. Like think back to your first job as a busboy, and then you got a new job as a waiter. Like you grew in that company and you were in the realm of hospitality and you were serving people, and like all those skill sets taught you how to serve people, like not yourself. And so I think, like I said before, it's like my mindset was warped and I was serving myself. I was just thinking of, my professional, I guess, goals, or just trying to make a ton of money, and not really thinking of the heart behind wedding filmmaking. And, I remember just telling her I was unhappy. I wanted to quit. I was just so unfulfilled. And, she just told me one word: joy. I was like, well, yeah, Mom, okay. I want to feel joy. I want to be happy. She's like, no, joy. Think about it. It's an acronym. Okay, joy is an acronym for Jesus, others, and yourself. And I mean, even if like you're not a Christian, I feel like these principles can still be massively transform your business, because, Jesus first, others second, yourself last. And that's kind of like the mindset that I've just adopted over the last 5-6 years that have really just helped me not feel so miserable in my business, or not feel that just the wrong mindset, I guess I could say, because she told me like, this is why you're unhappy. This is why you're unfulfilled. I was so hyper-focused on serving myself than truly serving others. And I mean, it's a hard pill to swallow. I mean, when you look at it, because of course you want the things that you do in your professional career, you want to feel that value. You want to feel like you have that stamp of approval, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, I realized I was building it for the wrong reasons. I was a steward of self rather than a servant to others. And that's the mindset that I feel is really beneficial for new filmmakers coming into this industry to adopt first, so that they can really keep that passion alive and keep that fire going for 5 and making it through that 5-year marker, because some trends say that, most small businesses fail after 5 years. And I just don't want that for new filmmakers coming into this industry who are so fired up, who are so excited about wedding filmmaking, to then come to a place of weddings are awful. Like, this is terrible. I don't want to do this anymore. So that's kind of the heart behind, these pillars on mindset is, and what I'm hoping to put out there.
That's really great. I think it's it's quite interesting how we get into this. It doesn't happen just, again, in one fell swoop. It's like somehow we turn everything back around on ourselves, and we're trying to give ourselves that joy, and we're trying to get that recognition. And it's like, oh, I want so-and-so to notice me, and it's about me, and it's about me. And the irony is that when you stop focusing on you and start serving others, that's when people start to really notice you and your work. And your work immediately gets better when you're thinking, how can I serve others for, how can I serve this couple the best with this film and give them something that they're going to just absolutely love? Like, filming it for them as if it's for your own kid or for your own family, or for, that changes the mindset. Like, I'm here to serve you first and foremost, the family I'm serving, the couple, the vendors. This is my mindset going, others is before you in the JOY acronym. And then you get that recognition. You start to do that for long enough, then people are like, oh, you're pretty awesome. You're pretty great, Jared. You're pretty great, John. And it's like, if all I'm talking about all the time on this podcast is how awesome John Bunn is and how much he's charging, and how it's like, I'm not spreading, like, I get the most joy with this podcast hearing about how great Jared's doing. I want the world to know that. And people are like, John, you're awesome. And it's like, that's great. But at a certain level of maturity in your mindset with your brands, it's like, oh, no. Once I really understand that about my mindset, that's when real joy starts to take place, because my happiness is not conditioned upon my performance always to other people. My happiness is because I'm serving others, and then myself last. So I really, really like that. I'm going to remember that acronym. Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. Appreciate you.
Thanks,
Always
Mom.
Insightful.
Yes, what a teacher. JOY. Yep. Okay, so I don't want to go through like all the 4 points. You do have a workshop coming up where you're going to be talking about 4 ways to become a better filmmaker. The first one is mindset. The next one, though, on your list is identity. I'd love to kind of dive into that one, and then maybe tee people up saying, hey, if you want to dive into the whole thing, sign up for your workshop, that sort of thing. So what you've got your mindset kind of figured out. What, like, the next step on becoming a better filmmaker you have here is identity. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like all of these kind of go hand in hand, and that's why when I've created this workshop, I really wanted it to just really be cohesive and every point lead to another. And so, mindset leading to identity, understanding who your brand is, how you make others feel, what you stand for, all of these things is going to provide you with clarity, which, I lacked, which is why I was so miserable in those first few years. I didn't have that solid clarity in my business, who I wanted to serve, and all of those things. It was completely wrong. And so behind every decision you make, and to help you stay consistent in booking couples that value you, I feel like knowing your identity and your brand, this will lead you down the path of creating films that are, 1, more impactful, and then 2, more memorable. And, fun fact for me, I didn't figure that out until 6 years into filming weddings. And so, this part will take some time, and that's okay. So really, identity is really just answering the question, how do you find your identity in a saturated industry? Because it can feel like there's just new filmmakers popping up left and right, and you're constantly getting lowballed, or you're getting ghosted, and you're not getting the clients that you want. And so, yeah, when it comes to identity, really the main question that I want to answer inside this free workshop is, I mean, how do you find your identity in a saturated industry? And for me, that answer has some good news, because I feel that you don't really have to find your identity as an artist because you already have that superpower. It's more so just about unearthing, all the things that make you great, and just shaping that and really developing it into, who you're meant to become as a filmmaker and a storyteller. And one of my favorite books that I have been talking about a lot recently it's one of the best things that I've read, and I just constantly refer back to it. It's called Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. And I mean, if you haven't read it, it's a great resource, just a great read if you are just struggling with finding yourself in the wedding world and as a creative, and you just feel overwhelmed by all these amazing filmmakers that you feel like, how on earth can I put something out there that is going to look this good or make people feel this amazing and this inspired? And it definitely has a lot of great relative points on how you can do just that. And one of the quotes that I love in this book, he states that a good artist understands that nothing comes from nowhere. All creative work builds on what came before. And this is also a Bible verse, which is really cool. It's Ecclesiastes 1:9. What has been will be again, and what has been done and will be done again. There's nothing new under the sun. And now I know sometimes that sentiment can feel kind of depressing because you want your work to have that original tone. You want to have that golden brush on the industry, so to speak, of oh man, my work's like anything you've ever seen. And I think if we just, again, we reshape that mindset, and instead of glorifying ourselves, we gratify others, we can have that work that is really seen as genuine and authentic and really highlights our couples, the essence of who our couple is, in a powerful way. So that's kind of the ideals of identity. It just kind of goes deeper into that.
I think that's really good. And it's an interesting thing whenever with the whole idea, there's nothing new under the sun, and there's no new ideas. It's all building on top of other ideas. And when you get going in your business and when you get going doing this, it's you're going to look to other creatives and other people. What are they doing? What do the people before us do? What the people, and there's nothing wrong with saying, okay, that's how you did it. I'm going to get some reps. I'm going to get some reps in, I like this style. This really speaks to me. I mean, I'm going to get some reps in. Some people are better at this from the beginning, but some people, it just takes some time to do the unearthing, like you said, where it's just what do I like? What do I not like? It was 2014 whenever I really started to dig into my identity as a brand, and I started in 2007. So about 7 years of me being I'm just paying the bills. I just need money. I enjoy this. It's creative and fun, but until I started really being well, who do I've had some I had it moment, or I had some I've had it moments where it's just I don't want to do weddings just because they're paying me a lot of money. I remember a wedding and it was just no fun. They paid me, I think, almost 10 grand for the wedding, but just treated me like trash. Money's not the only thing I care about. I don't just want to make money. My bills are paid now. My loans are paid off now. I want to make a lot of money, but I don't want to do it at the sake of not enjoying the day, or not enjoying I'm going to hate editing this because the groom didn't care at all. And who do I want to serve? I want to scream at them. I want them to know exactly that I'm the right fit for them. And the truth of the matter is, you can't make anything brilliant until you get that clarity. You can make vanilla, you can make normal, you can make something that's beautiful. You can pay the bills always and stay right in that mid-level market, just paying the bills, filming 40 weddings a year. But when you really understand the mindset, and then you understand, like you said, it builds on itself, your identity, that's when some of that magic starts to really happen. Whenever people are I connect with that person's identity as a brand. That's who I want. That's who I can see at my wedding. And then that cycle, what happens when you do that, you start booking people that love your work and want you to film their wedding. They give you more creative freedom. It's more inspiring. You feel more inspired. You are able to have that creativity that you were longing for and create something amazing for them, which attracts even more people like that. And so those steps definitely are huge in becoming a better wedding filmmaker. What do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, more practically, because I know we can talk about, clarity and finding, that right pathway but really like the practical steps on how to make that a thing, how to bring that to fruition. One thing that I have found to be really helpful, I mean, especially if you're just getting started as a wedding filmmaker, there's so many just amazing talent out there that it can be overwhelming, and you kind of start to lose that sense of, well, who do I want to be? Because you're so just inundated with like all these different styles that it can be a jumbled mess real quick, and you're just throwing things together. And so one way practically that I feel could really help new filmmakers is to plant an artist tree. And I'm about to do some puns, about to drop a pun like it's hot over here.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
So to find your artistry, you have to plant an artist tree. All right, what?
I got it. Yeah.
You got it? Okay.
Yep.
So what you will do is you'll find artists, musicians, painters, sculptors, directors. Doesn't have to be people related to the film world. People that have influenced your life or subconsciously has influenced your life. Study everything there is to know about that particular artist and find out people that inspired them, find out people that inspired their work, and then study everything there is to know about their inspirations. And then soon you'll have your own artist tree that is full of inspiration and ideas for your work that can help shape, develop, and unearth that superpower that's already inside of you.
I'm just so happy that there's all these the puns. I can't get past them. I've got myself joy. I have got that now. I've got an artist tree full of artists. I get it. It's practical. It's relatable.
There are a few crickets. So I didn't know if it was, I didn't hear the applause, but
I just
don't know if that'll be added in or.
I left room for the edit to add that in. We'll see how that goes when this goes live. There's a lot more to this. And I think it's really cool to continue to dig deeper in this kind of a chat. And I think it's very important for people to dig into that side of their business, not just I'm doing this today because I have to do it. I'm in my business all the time. I'm not working on it. I'm not working on my mindset. I'm not working on my ideal types of weddings I want to work with and the people I want to serve the most and understanding my identity and all that. And so if people are interested in hearing more, going deeper, I know that you have a couple of things. You've got a workshop coming up. You've got a podcast. You've got your YouTube channel. Tell us first about the workshop that's coming up, any details you have on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is my first ever workshop that I'm putting together. I don't know if it's technically a workshop or more of a mini course. Still kind of, I guess, workshopping that when it comes to the title. I just can't stop. But yeah, when it comes to that content, it's all about becoming a better wedding filmmaker. It talks about 5 pillars on how to become a better wedding filmmaker, from passion, profit, mindset, identity, and defining what wedding filmmaking even means to you. Just all the things that really just takes a deep dive from my own perspective and what I've learned to help me become a better filmmaker and be a better servant to others. That is going to release on Monday, February 26th. That's the date that everything is going to be released. It will be through, I'll send an email blast to everyone that's subscribed to the newsletter. You can subscribe to the newsletter. I'll send a link to you, Joe, if you want to pop it into the description. It'll also be on the YouTube channel. I'll send out a promo video a few days before to let people know about where they can sign up. And
And also it'll be, I'll just keep kind of spreading the news in a few podcasts on my old podcast, The Films We Make, as well. So there'll be plenty of opportunities for you guys to sign up and check this thing out. So
that's awesome. I'm pumped to be part of it, or to join it and learn, and just excited for you and where you're heading. I know that you mentioned your podcast, but you also have a podcast called The Films We Make, and I was over at waywardnorthfilms.com/education earlier today and just saw that you offer mentorships and things like that. I don't know if you want to touch on that. If people are wanting to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach out, connect, do stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can connect, get some free content, just absorb all the information going into this next wedding season. And you can head over to the YouTube channel at YouTube/Wayward North. On Instagram, I'm posting daily reels for at least 30 days. We'll see how this goes. I'm going to try to remain consistent on that. And yeah, of course, the Films We Make podcast, you can check that out, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And then, of course, if you're wanting to dive deeper with me, do some little, one-on-one sessions, or want me to review a wedding film, or just any question you have about wedding filmmaking, and you need some honest, transparent advice, you can head over to waywardnorthfilms.com, like John said, /education, and sign up for a mentorship if you want to connect there.
Yeah, dude, it's so cool to have you on the podcast. I am so excited for the growth that you're seeing, and it's interesting. And I'll end with this: is like, if you're focused on how can I just grow my numbers for my podcast, that is the way to not be attractive to people. And I think that you've just found this lane that you're like, I'm just focused on helping people. Everything else will figure itself out. And that's the vibe of How to Film Weddings. And we want to support people that have that vibe as well. And they're not trying to just build their empire or just trying to make it about them. We want people that, the heart is, you as an educator, you want to get paid to do stuff and you want to make money, and like, that's all great. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's obvious that your first priority is taking care of others. And so kudos to you. Thanks for being on the podcast. I'm excited to bump into each other in real life. Maybe we can fly somewhere together. You and me, just get on a jet, film it. I'll film you. It's fine.
You could be my first.
Oh, geez. Okay. I think on that note, Jared, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much, John. I appreciate it, man. It's been such a pleasure connecting.
All right. Well, thank you again, Jared, for being part of the podcast. Great episode. Reminder, Monday, February 26th is when his live workshop is going to be ready and up for you. Be sure to check the show notes or the links under this video to sign up for that. Be sure to check out his podcast, The Films We Make. And lastly, as a reminder, as we're getting into the wedding season, if you need outsourcing for your wedding films, be sure to head over to howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing to see the approved list of editors for How to Film Weddings. It's a great place to find an editor for your next project or a culling partner. So be sure to check it out, howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. And until next time, we will see you.